Picture this. You are sitting at your desk, or, maybe you're just staring at your screen on yet another video call.
Probably the video call.
Right, yeah. And it is late on a Thursday afternoon. The office is quiet, or at least the Slack notifications have momentarily paused for once.
A rare moment of peace.
Exactly. And your boss casually leans in, or I guess unmutes, and asks who wants to take the lead on a brand new, highly visible, but incredibly vague project.
Oh, the dreaded vague project.
Yes. And before your sleep-deprived brain can even process the fact that you haven't actually slept a full 8 hours in, 3 days, your hand shoots up.
It just happens automatic.
It just goes right up in the air. So congratulations, you have just committed to working through your entire weekend to build a slide deck that will probably be skimmed for exactly 30 seconds before being completely forgotten by executive leadership.
It is the ultimate corporate tragicomedy, honestly. You volunteer for your own demise.
Yeah, doing it with a smile on your face.
Right, just hoping someone up the chain of command notices your immense dedication.
Yeah.
And we see this behavior pattern constantly in the organizational psychology sources we're reviewing today. People are just willingly walking into a wood chipper of their own making.
Which is why today's deep dive is dedicated to unpacking this bizarre, almost comical tug-of-war we are constantly caught in at work.
It's a real struggle.
It is. We are looking at the intense friction between the urge to say yes to absolutely everything and, well, the rising cultural movement of aggressively saying no.
Which has gotten very popular lately.
Right. So our mission today is to completely bypass the generic, fluffy career advice you see plastered all over professional networking sites. We are digging into the sharp, slightly uncomfortable psychology of self-sabotage in the workplace. Because right now, professionals, and, meaning you listening to this, are trapped between two very loud, very extreme ideologies.
Yeah, the messaging in our Read It Stack this week is fascinating, purely because of how polarized it is.
Okay, let's unpack this. What are the two camps?
So on one side, we have a mountain of literature from the hustle culture advocates.
The grind set folks.
Exactly. These are the voices claiming that you absolutely must accept every single opportunity to stay visible, to grow, and climb the ladder. The underlying assumption there is that career growth operates on a purely additive model.
Meaning just adding more things makes you better.
Right. The more tasks you take on, the more valuable you become. They treat your career like an all-you-can-eat buffet.
And if your plate isn't dangerously overflowing, you're starving.
Precisely. If your calendar isn't a solid block of color from 8 in the morning until 7 at night, you are, in their eyes, actively falling behind your peers.
It's the more is more approach to career capital. If there's a committee for planning the office holiday party, join it.
Get in there.
If there's a cross-functional task force that meets at lunch, you better be taking notes.
You're eating a sandwich while taking minutes. Yeah.
Right? But then you look at the other half of our reading stack and you get absolute whiplash.
Total whiplash.
Because on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, there is this massive wave of literature from the self-care movement.
The boundary setters.
Yes, the self-care army. They are instructing you to fiercely protect your peace, set rigid boundaries, and say no as a complete sentence to save your mental health and avoid burnout.
And that paradigm shift, it frames the word no as a magic spell that will instantly cure workplace anxiety.
But does it actually work like that?
Well, the problem with this literature is that it rarely addresses the professional fallout of deploying that word without strategy.
Oh, right. Because there are consequences.
Huge consequences.
Yep.
When you construct an impenetrable fortress around your core job description, you block out the burnout, sure. But you also block out all the serendipitous opportunities, the cross-departmental relationships, and, frankly, the very visibility required to advance.
I have to challenge the self-care extreme specifically because I've seen the dark side of that advice play out in real time.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, if you actually follow that guidance to the letter, if you aggressively protect your peace and decline every single thing that isn't specifically bulleted in your original job offer, your so-called boundary quickly devolves into solitary confinement.
You're just on an island.
A very lonely, promotion-free island. You are perfectly rested, perfectly peaceful, and your manager literally forgets your name during the annual compensation review.
Yeah, you've protected your peace right out of a career trajectory.
Exactly.
And the dilemma for anyone actually trying to navigate a modern workplace is incredibly fraught, because neither the hustle camp nor the boundary setting camp offers a sustainable mechanism for operating in a complex organization.
They both just seem like recipes for different types of disaster.
They are. And to understand the underlying psychology, we need to look at what happens when highly intelligent people actually try to embody these two extremes in a real-world office environment.
Right, the behavioral symptoms reveal the flaws in both strategies. So let's ground this in the case studies from our reading stack. We have two very distinct profiles that kept emerging in the research. First, let's look at the ultimate office yes person. We'll call her Sarah.
Good old Sarah.
Sarah is the embodiment of the hustle camp's dream employee. The boss asks for a volunteer to design the new team newsletter. She is on it, picking out fonts.
She's probably doing it at 10 p.m. too.
Oh, definitely. The intern needs help figuring out the database. She schedules a 2-hour tutorial.
Right.
Someone needs to audit 3 years of old code just for compliance. Her hand is the first one in the air.
Because she operates under the assumption that volume equals value. If she's doing a lot, she is a lot.
But the research on cognitive load paints a very different picture of what is actually happening in Sarah's brain, right?
A completely different picture. By Wednesday, she isn't just tired, she is experiencing a severe depletion of executive function. The sources highlight this concept called attention residue.
Attention residue, what is that exactly?
So when you jump from a complex coding audit to a newsletter design, your brain physically cannot make a clean break.
It's just lingering on the code.
Exactly. A significant portion of your cognitive processing power remains stuck on the previous task.
Okay, so she's basically functioning like a computer that has 40 different browser tabs open.
That is the perfect mechanical analogy.
They're like, the fans are screaming, the battery's draining, and the system is just freezing up, even though she thinks she's doing an impressive amount of work.
Right. And because of that cognitive drag, Sarah inevitably drops a massive ball.
She has to. It's inevitable.
In the case study, we see her trying to email an incredibly important contract to a top-tier client, but instead she accidentally attaches a PDF of a sourdough bread recipe and hits send.
Oh no, a
Yeah.
sourdough recipe instead of a contract.
Yes. She desperately wanted to look capable. She took on all these extra tasks to be seen as the ultimate team player. But the result is that to her client, her boss, and even the intern, she just looks incredibly chaotic.
She looks like a liability.
A massive liability.
Which is a brutal outcome when you realize she is working 60-hour weeks specifically to impress these exact people.
The irony is painful.
It really is. But let's flip the coin and look at the second profile. Let's talk about the guy who read exactly one article on workplace boundaries and decided to make it his entire personality.
Yes, Dave.
We'll call him Dave.
Yeah.
Dave considers himself a modern boundary boss.
A pioneer.
Yeah.
And Dave's approach is rooted in structural rigidity.
How does that look in practice?
In practice, he aggressively declines any meeting that doesn't have a fully written, detailed agenda attached to the invite.
Even if it's important.
Even if it's a critical, fast-moving project that requires just a quick 5-minute sync to clarify some ambiguity, if there is no agenda, Dave hits decline.
Wow.
Yeah, he cites his need to protect his deep work time. He genuinely believes he is a champion of modern mental health in the corporate sphere.
It's almost a form of malicious compliance with HR wellness emails.
That's exactly what it is.
But when we look at the network theory studies in our stack, what is the actual organizational cost of a Dave? Because I guarantee his team doesn't view him as a mental health pioneer.
Oh, they definitely don't. They view him as a bottleneck.
Just a roadblock.
Right. A strict enforcer of boundaries becomes what organizational psychologists call a structural hole in the team's network.
A structural hole? That sounds bad.
It is. When things get messy, ambiguous, or require fast, informal collaboration, which, let's be honest, is where most real problem-solving happens, Dave is inaccessible.
Right, because he's hiding behind his demand for an agenda.
Exactly. So the team just starts routing around him. The flow of information simply bypasses his desk entirely.
Oh, wow. So he preserves his energy, but he renders himself completely irrelevant to the actual functioning of the business.
Totally irrelevant.
So just to summarize where we are, Sarah is sending sourdough recipes to VIP clients, and Dave has turned himself into a broken router that the rest of the office just ignores.
That sums it up perfectly.
They are both trying to manage their image and their workload, but they are both failing in completely different ways. Sarah's failure is incredibly loud, and Dave's failure is quiet and obstructive.
But neither is succeeding.
Exactly. Neither is succeeding. If saying yes to everything makes you chaotic and saying no to everything makes you invisible, there has to be a deeper psychological driver we are missing here.
There is. And the sources point to a core insight that requires us to completely reframe how we view workplace ambition.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, we have this deeply ingrained cultural belief that volunteering for more work is inherently a display of competence.
Right, that's what we've all been taught.
But the research suggests the exact opposite. Saying yes at the wrong time, specifically when your plate is already full, is not ambition.
Then what is it?
It is a form of self-sabotage, heavily disguised as ambition.
Okay, hold on. I have to challenge that premise for a second.
Go for it.
Because early in my career, saying yes to everything was quite literally how I learned my job.
Sure, early on.
Yeah, I built my network by taking on random projects, sitting in on meetings I didn't actually belong in, and generally overcommitting. Isn't there a critical phase in any professional's life where you simply have to say yes to figure out what you are actually good at?
That's a great point. But there is a massive distinction between the novice accumulation phase and the expert execution phase of a career.
Okay, unpack that difference for me.
When you are new, you are surveying the landscape. You say yes to gather data. You need to figure out how the company works.
Right.
But the professionals we're talking about today, the people currently drowning in their mid to late careers, are no longer surveying.
They already know the landscape.
Exactly. They are defaulting to yes, not out of strategic exploration, but out of a psychological fear of looking incompetent.
A fear of looking incompetent by saying no.
Yes. They are using overcommitment as a shield.
Using overcommitment as a shield. Unpack the mechanics of that. How does taking on more work protect you from looking incompetent?
I know it sounds counterintuitive.
It really does. If you aren't good at your job, wouldn't you want fewer things to mess up?
You'd think so, but it comes down to the psychological comfort of having a built-in excuse.
Oh, wow.
Right. Think about it. If you take on 5 massive projects and you deliver mediocre results on all of them, what is the narrative you tell your boss?
You say, I was spread too thin, or I just had too much on my plate.
Exactly. The sheer volume of work becomes the scapegoat for the lack of quality.
Wow. That is brilliant and also absolutely terrifying.
It's very common.
Because if you fail because you were too busy, it's viewed as a structural issue. You're a martyr. It's a heroic struggle against impossible odds.
A noble failure.
But if you only take on 2 core projects, and you have ample time and resources to execute them, and you still fail,
Then it's a reflection on your actual competence.
that means you just aren't good at your job.
And that is the terrifying reality people are avoiding. Taking on 2 projects and giving them your absolute focus is incredibly vulnerable.
It leaves you nowhere to hide.
Nowhere. So instead, people subconsciously choose the chaos.
That makes so much sense.
When you accept a high-profile extra project that you genuinely do not have the bandwidth for, you're not showing leadership that you are a superstar.
What are you showing them?
You are literally just giving your coworkers a front-row seat to your deteriorating performance.
You are building a stage, turning on the spotlights and demanding everyone watch you juggle flaming chainsaws when you haven't even mastered tennis balls.
That is a very vivid image, but yes, exactly. And the research backs this up with hard data.
It isn't just theory.
No, it isn't some mystical issue of finding your inner zen or discovering your true capacity. The cognitive load studies break it down to brutal arithmetic.
The math of poor performance. Walk me through it.
It is the math of poor performance. So you possess 100% of your focused cognitive energy.
Right. A finite amount.
If you apply that to 2 core projects, you can innovate, catch subtle errors, and deliver exceptional quality. You have brain power.
Okay, so 50% per project, roughly.
Exactly. But if you take that same energy and fracture it across 5 projects because you couldn't resist a shiny new task.
You're doing 20% per project.
Well, you'd think so, but no. You don't just divide your attention, you shatter it.
Ah, right, because of the attention residue we talked about earlier.
Exactly. The neurological cost of switching between those 5 tasks means you aren't giving 20% to each. You're likely giving 10 or 15%, with the rest lost to that cognitive drag.
Man, and 15% is a failing grade in literally any industry.
It's a disaster.
Which leads to a really sobering realization for anyone listening right now.
What's that?
Every single time you say yes to a shiny new opportunity, you are implicitly saying no to the quality of the work you are already responsible for.
That's the painful truth.
You are siphoning resources away from the core responsibilities that you are actually evaluated on.
And that trade-off is unavoidable. Sarah's enthusiastic yes to designing the newsletter was a direct mechanical no to proofreading her client emails.
The sourdough recipe wasn't a freak accident.
No, it was the mathematical certainty of an overloaded system. We have to strip away the badge of honor associated with overcommitting.
Because it's not a badge of honor.
Not at all. It shows a severe lack of prioritization, a lack of self-awareness, and a fundamental inability to manage the most critical resource in the company.
Which is your own focus attention.
Exactly.
So overcommitting is just poor performance in disguise.
That's the core insight of this whole deep dive.
And that completely dismantles the hustle culture narrative. They want you to think piling your plate high makes you the most valuable player in the room. But in reality, it just makes you the person dropping plates all over the floor while everyone else tries to clean up the mess.
Perfectly said. But, it also challenges the self-care army just as aggressively.
Oh, right, because of Dave. How does it reframe the self-care side?
It forces a redefinition of what a boundary actually is. Setting a boundary is not about throwing up a wall just to be a boundary boss like Dave, isolating yourself and becoming a roadblock to your peers.
Right. True boundary setting is an offensive strategy, not a defensive one.
Exactly. It is about strategically allocating your finite energy so that the work you do agree to take on is executed flawlessly. You aren't retreating from the organization, you are protecting the quality of your output.
Which means the most ambitious thing you can possibly do in your career is say no to the distractions you can be undeniable at the core task.
The absolute most ambitious thing.
This entire deep dive has taken a very cliche workplace dilemma and really stripped it down to the neurological and psychological studs. I love it.
It really changes how you look at your calendar.
It definitely does. So as we wrap up, we want to bring this directly back to your daily reality. Yes, you listening to this on your commute or sitting at your desk, we are going to put you through a little mirror test.
This is the moment to audit your own recent decisions. Just think about the commitments you've made in the last month.
Right. So the next time you were sitting in a meeting or reading a long email chain and you feel that familiar impulsive urge to say yes to a shiny new project just to look good to leadership.
We all know that feeling.
We do. You need to pause. Just stop for 1 second and ask yourself a genuinely uncomfortable question. Are you actually growing your career in that moment, or are you just happily volunteering to ruin your own reputation?
You really have to ruthlessly interrogate the motivation behind your yes. Is it driven by genuine strategic ambition?
Right.
Do you have a practical roadmap for how you will deliver excellence on this new task without compromising your existing portfolio?
Or is it just a lingering fear of looking incompetent if you admit that you have human limits?
Because if you don't have the capacity, you're just buying yourself a built-in excuse for mediocrity.
The math doesn't lie, and the attention residue is very real. So if every single yes you give is secretly a no to the quality of your current work, what incredibly important task, project, or relationship are you silently sabotaging right now without even realizing it? Think about it. Before your hand shoots up to volunteer for that vague weekend slide deck, ask yourself, what are you about to drop?